So today we have a speaker from the Nebraska Department of Ag, Bobbie Kriz-Wickham. She's going to give a little update to us about the different areas of the program. And one of the things I'm excited to hear is about our livestock-friendly counties that we have. So she wants me to apologize ahead of time if she
I will apologize.
Coughing and hacking up. I think several of us do have colds, so she also has one as well. So let's welcome our speaker.
Hey. Do you mind? I'm just going to stand here, I think, if that's all right with everybody. That way you can look at the screen and I can work from my notes a little bit. And if I do cough, I'm so sorry. I'm nursing a chest cold, and if I turn blue, somebody come dislodge the cough drop with the Heimlich maneuver, okay? All right, so Kim asked me to do a little bit of an overview of the department, and so I'll start out just generally talking a little bit about our structure. Probably most of you are fairly familiar with it. But we did a little bit of rebranding in the last couple years. Took on a theme called At Work for You, At Work for Agriculture, and At Work for Nebraska, and kind of based those three things around three focus areas within the department. So when you look at food safety and consumer protection, that would be our old weights and measures division and dairies and foods division. And the things that they deal with, we decided, are things that are more directly related to the general consumer. And so we kind of lumped those together with this tagline to help make it more understandable for the general public for the functions that those divisions provide. And these are the folks that are checking your gas pumps for accuracy, looking at grocery scales, grocery store scanners, and making sure that what you're getting when you go in and do that retail transaction is actually what you're paying for, that you're actually getting what you're paying for. These are also the folks that test milk supply at the farm, in the tanker, and at the processing plant, as well as the guys that are going out and checking restaurants for sanitary conditions. So that's what the food safety and consumer protection focus area is working on. The second area, and we slug that as at work for agriculture, and this is our animal and plant health protection focus area. And this would be our old Bureau of Animal Industries and Bureau of Plant Industries. Again, I think animal and plant health protection is a little bit more descriptive, and so that's again why we made some changes and did some rebranding there. And of course, these are the folks that are looking at import orders for animals that are coming in. Our animal disease traceability system that we partner with the federal government on comes under this group. Our folks that are working on eradication of pests and weeds in the state also would be under this focus area, as well as folks that are looking at emerald ash borer in trees and trying to maintain our protection against that. And then the third area is at work for Nebraska Ag Promotion and Development, and this is kind of the traditional promotional function that our Ag Promotion and Development section has had. So we didn't see a need to make a lot of changes there. It's pretty self-explanatory. So these three focus areas then are supported by another leg in the stool, I guess, that we call shared services, and that's just all the other functions that department staff provide to these three focus areas, like your data center, your administration, and your computer people and that. So all of these three things come together to make a complete picture for the department. I think most folks don't realize we're 85% regulatory, so most of what we do is regulatory in nature, with about 15% on the ag promotion and development side. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit more here for some of the things that we've been working on within ag promotion and development. It's what I'm most familiar with, and probably what you have most interest in. So one of the areas that we've really been focusing on lately is working with youth and helping them understand their role in our agriculture industry and in our future. With the globalization of agriculture and the technological advancements with agriculture, I think we can all agree that, and we've heard that too, that there's a greater demand for our youth in a variety of different professions. It's more than just going back to the farm now, which is great. You've got companies like Monsanto and DuPont and Deere and Gavilon. I mean, these folks are hiring kids right out of college with really great, great salaries and great opportunities. So for us, we've kind of made it a focus to work with the university and do our part also within the department. One of the things that we do in working with youth, that's kind of our pinnacle thing, is our Nebraska Agricultural Youth Council. This is a group of 16 to 20 college-age men and women. Hopefully the picture will come up here so you can actually see them. There they are. That's our current council. They're competitively selected to be on our council each year. And they do a variety of activities throughout the year. They are responsible for going into elementary schools and doing education with the elementary age students. I think this year they've got some 12 schools lined up that they're going to go talk to. Usually it's during National Ag Week. I think this year, because of spring break, it's the week after. But to go in and do some hands-on education with some of those youth in elementary schools. They work out at Exarban on the largest classroom day out at Exarban and help do education there. They host Urban Farm Tour in the spring, which should be coming up here pretty soon. And they've grown this. These kids are, I should have mentioned, I don't know if I did before, you know, it's a competitive process. And so the kids that you're seeing here and that we have on our council, they're the cream of the crop at UNL. It's quite inspiring actually to interview the kids that are coming in to get onto this council, because they're all very active. And so they've been very good about growing our programs. And so on the Urban Youth Farm Tour, for example, in the past we've only done one bus, 60 kids. Area farmers in Wahoo help us host these kids, these elementary age school kids. And through the efforts of our council the last couple years, we've been able to grow that to 260 kids coming out to these farms to be able to, you know, see and hear and smell and feel agriculture, providing a very important experience for kids that are far removed, most of them anyway, from the farm. The pinnacle of what they do, however, is the Nebraska Agricultural Youth Institute. Each July, kids from across Nebraska, high school kids, juniors and seniors, come in to UNL for a week of learning about agriculture. Careers obviously is a big part of that focus, what they can look forward to in the future as opportunities. We have grown this program under Kristen Cam's leadership, I should say. I definitely need to mention that. Over the past several years, from somewhere around 100 kids to this year, I think, or last year, 76 kids that are coming across from all across the state to learn about agriculture and opportunities. The deadline for this year's NAYI, Kristen would make me, I would really be in trouble if I didn't mention this. The deadline for application to NAYI for this year is April 15th on Tax Day. Kristen has some materials. So if you know of anybody in that age group that has a passion for agriculture, please encourage them to turn in an application to us. All right, so another area that we're focusing on, excuse me, and that I wanted to talk a little bit about within ag promotion and development is our emphasis right now on livestock and agribusiness. Within the past few years, especially the last couple years, we've seen a lot of interest in livestock development, which has been great. In Nebraska, obviously, we know agriculture is very important to our economy. And one thing that we continue to talk about at the department is the need for all sizes and all kinds of agriculture. But as we know, even though we have 45 million acres worth of land devoted to agriculture, not everybody can be a 5,000 acre row crop farmer. And in order to add value to what we have here, we need livestock development. So as more companies have come and as more producers have started to show more interest again in livestock development, we've seen an increase in interest. And I think there's a cause for us to make sure we are focusing on that. These are some old charts, but I wanted to throw them in. I know the United Soybean Board has done more recent work, to update these figures, but tells the same story either way. As you see, for hogs and pigs and milk, the shade that we have in both of those is different than the other shade, and we have a minus in front of the numbers. So even though we continue to see the value of agricultural production in Nebraska go up every year, which is great, you know, we're getting more value, actual numbers of animals is going down. So there's room for growth and opportunity there. Same way with eggs. Susan would tell you the same thing. We've got some work to do compared to our neighbors when it comes to poultry and egg production. So this is the Livestock Friendly County program, and it's seen a lot of action last year, and the last year in particular, as these arrows are showing. This program started in about 2004, and up to that point we had 14 counties. Up to last year we had 14 counties. This year, in the last year, we had 7 additional join. Part of that, I think, is the national and state level conversation related to animal rights and animal welfare. I think counties have started to view it as a way to make a statement about supporting livestock agriculture. A few of them have wanted to make sure that, from a marketing standpoint, they were out there being seen as livestock friendly, so that as companies became more interested and producers became more interested in development, they would have an opportunity to be looked at. I'm really excited that we see more of those on the eastern side of the state. Love our friends to the west, and I'm very glad that we've got a great involvement from them. But there's a lot of companies right now looking at that eastern part of the state for development. And so the more that we can have counties looking for opportunities to welcome livestock in the eastern part of the state and making it publicly known, I think the better as far as our options for having true growth in our livestock industry. Now we do a few more things. But I just wanted to mention briefly, working on livestock. The Veterinary Medicine Loan Repayment Program is actually a federal program, but we take advantage of it by working with our vets across the state, trying to highlight areas where there's a need for food animal veterinarians. We as a department are responsible for designating those areas as shortage areas, and then that opens up the opportunity for young vets to apply for loan repayment through the federal government if they're going to be willing to relocate or locate in those shortage areas. We've had pretty good success over the last 4 or 5 years or so with that program and getting some young vets out into some shortage areas across the state. We do trade shows and promotional materials, things like our feedlot directory, our diversified ag directory, seed stock directory, are all online, and get regular hits from people looking hopefully for possible resources and places to take their business. We also have an animal disease traceability system employee. He's a federal contract employee to work with the federal animal disease traceability system. It's been kind of touch and go. I don't know how familiar you all are with that program, but they just had final rules released on that program here in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so. So we're kind of gearing up for that for this next year. And then one of the things we also are very active on is we are an AFAN cooperator. And as we've gotten a lot of interest related to livestock development, we've worked very heavily with Willa-Hollabeck to get out in those counties and make sure that they have the information that they need to help producers make a case if they're going in for a zoning hearing about the positive effects that their operation can have on the economy of that county. So we're getting more and more of that. We're starting to see some new facilities zoned, facilities permitted within counties. And so as more counties come on livestock friendly also, we're getting more requests for that kind of information. So we're cooperating with Willow as best we can to get her the information she needs to go out and work with the counties one-on-one or producers one-on-one, and just basically trying to help her with whatever we can. I am so sorry. And then I just want to mention a few of the other things that we do working with industry besides livestock. We do get some federal funding to work with industry. Specialty Crop Block Grant Program brings in about $250,000 to $300,000 a year, where we grant out to researchers and others who apply to us to do work within specialty crops, which by federal definition is things like dry edible beans, potatoes, fruit and vegetables, those types of things that are not mainstream commodity crops. I know dry beans are in our state, but this is how USDA defines them. So lots of research related to, you know, pests and diseases. You can use it for marketing assistance and things like that. So $250,000 to $300,000, you know, it's not a huge amount, but to some of these groups it really is. If they can get a large grant, like our fruit and vegetable growers, to do work on good agricultural practices, for instance, and get some education related to that, it's a big benefit to them and not something that that group, that organization, the fruit and vegetable growers, would necessarily be able to afford on their own. So same way with seniors and WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program. Federal funds that come in about $250,000 again to $300,000 a year for low-income seniors and WIC participants to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables from qualified vendors. So again, some federal money that's coming in that is a win-win for the producers because it gets more money for those folks in our economy, and also then for the low-income folks that are able to take advantage of it. And then we also get some funding for organic cost share to help reimburse for the cost of certification.
So, but they're only using those at farmers market?
For the seniors farm, yes. Yep. The coupons can only be used at vendors at the markets that have done training with us and have become certified. So there's quite a lot of rules associated with it, but once you get trained, it's actually pretty beneficial. So I wanted to talk on just a couple things as we look to the future. Director of IBA especially wanted me to mention trade, and of course with trade, you know, he's been talking a lot about the Paulson Institute. You know, we generally rank 4th or 5th nationally for agricultural exports. In 2011, I think they say we had $7 billion worth of agricultural exports: soybeans, corn, meat, live animals. So we're really a leader when it comes to those types of things. Director Ibar, actually the governor, was invited last year by former Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson to participate in the Paulson Institute, and particularly the Agricultural Investments Experts Group. What the Paulson Institute is doing is working internationally to encourage cross-investment in agriculture and agriculture processing. And in particular right now they're focusing on China. And so what they want to do is talk about ways that you can add value here to our raw commodities, gain the benefit of the jobs and the economic development associated with that, and then ship the finished product overseas to China. We want to continue to ship as much corn and soybeans as we can, you know, raw commodities. We still want to continue to do that, but look at opportunities for, again, adding that value here in state first, and then moving those products over to China and other markets. Greg went to Beijing to participate in kind of a high-level seminar related to this with the Paulson Institute and with Secretary Paulson himself, actually, in December, and had a lot of interest from, there were major food companies there and major investment houses there, and had a lot of interest. We were the only state represented, so there was a lot of interest, in hoping that from that we'll see some successful cooperative opportunities come from that. So there's several companies that we're still speaking with. And then we're doing some of the traditional stuff that we do as well. You know, working with, for instance, in Hong Kong, I got to look at the name, Vocational Technical Center, where a lot of Asian chefs are trained. Nebraska Beef Council, for instance, provides the meat for them, so that as these chefs get educated, then they go out and become chefs within the Asian marketplace. They're used to working with Nebraska beef, and therefore will want to serve that in their restaurants. I know Greg is getting ready with some partners, I think, to go to Japan and do an event in Tokyo, a promotional event, now that the rule that animals under 30 months can come in, meat for animals under 30 months can come into the marketplace there. I believe they're going to do a big event with some of our biggest customers over there to help kind of welcome that change in rules. We're hosting a group from Hong Kong here pretty soon in the next few weeks with UNL. They are trying to get at the university over there, trying to get a meat science program going, and so we're doing some cross education and some tours associated with that. And then the other thing we do besides, well, I guess I mentioned already, we're having folks come over here besides us going over there, and that just shows you we had some folks from Argentina in, obviously not yet this year, previously, to come in and look at our genetics. So we obviously do some trade work overseas, but we're also hosting folks here on a fairly regular basis. And then the final thing I wanted to mention, I think for all of us, we realize that we need to do more educational efforts related to the general public about agriculture and what it means to them. That's just a reality that we live with now, that more folks are away from the farm and don't understand where their food comes from. And so one of the things that we've done at the department is work on this magazine. It's called Nebraska Agriculture and You. You're getting a sneak peek. Nobody else has seen this actually yet. It's going to be rolled out the week of National Ag Week, so March 18th or 17th through the 23rd. We're going to roll it out. We took a little different approach. This company, Journal Communications, is working with a lot of departments of ag and doing these agriculture magazines. We were a little different in that we wanted it to be for the general consumer, as opposed to, agriculture talking to agriculture. So we called it Nebraska Agriculture and You, and we've tried to focus the stories towards the general consumer and helping them understand about where their food comes from. We had a lot of support thanks to maybe even some of you in here who were advertisers. There's no state dollars other than our time in the office to work on it. There's no state dollars going towards it, or very limited, I probably should say. But the bulk of what's helping this magazine go forward is advertising revenue. Here's a few pages just to kind of give you a little peek at what it's going to look like a little bit. We are focusing on delivery with our FFA chapters in the state, and we're looking at the top. I think we've got 30 of the top most populous communities that we're going to partner with FFA on, or trying to get chapters to help us do delivery. And I guess I forgot to mention that as the most important thing. We're trying to get it in places where the general public sits and waits. So doctor's office, dentist's office, maybe automotive lobbies, all those lobbies where general consumers are sitting and can pick up this free magazine and flip through it and hopefully learn a little bit more than they knew about Nebraska agriculture. So with FFA's help, hopefully we'll be able to, in the next month or so, get those magazines out there and get them circulated. It's going to be an annual publication, so as soon as we get this one out the door, we'll probably start planning again for the next issue. With that, I think what I'm going to do is just, before I start coughing again, wrap up